hear a lot of people talking about how they just can't believe that this problematic influencer still has an audience after they've been through scandal after scandal after scandal, but I really don't think it's that hard to figure out. People like Tana Mojo, James Charles, Jake Paul, Jeffree Star, people like the popular TikTokers that live in the group houses, the family vlog channels, all have mainly child audiences. I mean, how many adults want to sit around all day and watch fake scripted videos where parents are sticking a camera in their kid's face all day, every day, showing their most vulnerable and embarrassing moments to millions of people, or TikToks of teenagers all doing the same minimal effort, staying in one place, dances that they copied from someone else? Like, I don't mean to offend anyone who watches those, but I don't think they appeal to that many people over the age of 18. Shall we look at some examples of problematic things influencers have done over the past year or so? I think so. First, partying during the pandemic. Also partying during the pandemic and then posting about how it was so irresponsible for you to party during the pandemic and you're gonna do better, but then continuing to party during the pandemic. Lecturing your audience about how they shouldn't party during the pandemic, and then you yourself go out and party during the pandemic. And then all of that, but replace the word party with travel.
So you guys are getting a lot of backlash for going to Bahamas. What do you think about that?
It is what it is, you know, like...
Yeah.
I think, especially like in the business that we're in, I think that it's like, you need some time to kind of disconnect for a little, you know?
Yeah.
A lot of people like to hate on the popular TikTokers and say that their videos require no effort, but like, Noah Beck is basically a professional dancer, okay? He probably practices 12 hours a day for weeks straight before he makes a TikTok. Not many people have the work ethic that he has, and you guys shouldn't judge him because you have no idea what it's like to work as hard as him. Even though he's a millionaire and would be able to disconnect from social media at home in his mansion, the fact that he needed to travel internationally to get a break shows you just how hard his life is. Moving on from pandemic stuff though, Gabby DiMartino posted a video of herself as a child where her dress came up and you could see her private parts, sold it for $3 on OnlyFans, and marketed it as you would adult content. Marielle stole an entire storytime video from a smaller creator, Hey Paris, because that makes sense to do. Shane Dawson did lots of inappropriate and racist stuff years ago that finally caught up to him much more than it had the previous times he'd been called out for it. Too much to list, don't want to get demonetized. Probably like a quarter of all popular white TikTokers and YouTubers have tweeted or said the N-word and recorded it and it was posted online. Makes you wonder how many of them have said it but it just didn't make it online. Nikocado Avocado has made like fake trolling spousal abuse his personal brand, and mukbangers across the internet continue to promote binge eating. That's just a few situations. In my opinion, one of the main reasons these influencers are able to get away with making a mockery of abuse or traveling all over the place during the pandemic and like be criticized for doing so by 100 different drama and commentary channels, yet not really lose any followers most of the time, or only lose a little bit and then like gain them all back eventually, you know, not face any like real consequences that matter that much, is because the majority of the people who follow them are young. Children aren't as likely to care about whether or not the people they're following are problematic or realize when they're being problematic in the first place. They're not as concerned with following and supporting people who have good values and do good things. They're generally just looking for entertainment, and a lot of times, you know, they're more likely to see things as just a simple mistake. Everyone makes mistakes, everyone has those days, especially those who idolize a creator, and I think kids are more likely to idolize people than adults are. You know, they already think they're just such a great person, so when they do something wrong, they're more likely to instead of considering that this person might not be as great as they thought, they'll likely search for an explanation that allows them to continue believing that this person is kind of who they think they are. I want to make it clear that this video is just about like the really problematic people, not just anyone who's ever been involved in drama one time. And I also think that like bigger creators are able to get away with things more easily, so like this also applies way less to smaller creators. You'd think it'd be the other way around, that like smaller creators would be able to get away with things because they're talked about less, but for some reason it's not. I really think the only way we can expect for these people to hold themselves accountable for their actions and start to change and become better people is to stop supporting them, stop watching their videos, stop buying their merch, etc. I'm not saying like you shouldn't follow this person or that person. I'm just saying I don't think they will care about change unless it affects them financially and sometimes affects their reputation. And for really big creators, that's basically impossible. Like, they're making so much money that even if they lost like half their audience, which would roughly equate to half their income, how much would they really care? I don't know, because they'd still be making hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars. Let's talk about cancel culture versus accountability culture. I feel like cancel culture isn't something that's like well defined or understood, I guess. I don't know, because it's like the way it's applied is totally different than the way people describe it. And what I mean by that is that you'll see people say like, OMG, so-and-so just got canceled, or like people are trying to cancel so-and-so right now, but nothing ever happens to this person. Like, they'll get called out on Twitter and by drama channels, and they might lose some followers, but after time they gain them all back. And so it's like eventually they return to normal. I'm not saying their lives shouldn't return to normal, I'm just saying that they do 99% of the time. But then people will say cancel culture is so toxic and harmful because people deserve a second chance and people should be held accountable for their actions rather than permanently canceled for them. And I totally agree with that, but that's not what's ever happening. Like, I would say the only types of people I can think of that have ever been actually canceled are people who have like had their channels terminated by YouTube, have committed actual crimes, are no longer on the platform. Like, Austin Jones was a music YouTuber with over 500,000 followers, and he's now spending 10 years in prison for CP. His channel was terminated. Like, that's somebody who I would say has been canceled, and for good reason. People say the Ace family gets canceled every day. The Ace family has never been canceled because they still have like 20 million followers, get hundreds of thousands, if not millions of views every day, and are one of the most popular family channels on YouTube. James Charles is somebody who might have seemed like he was canceled a few years ago, but like when he lost millions of followers in a few days, but now he's gained all his back and many, many more. He's getting millions of views a day. He's one of the most followed people on the platform, and he's collabing with A and B list celebrities. Like, he is not remotely canceled. Even with someone like Shane Dawson, he might seem pretty canceled right now, but in a couple months or years, he could be right back in the YouTube world like nothing ever happened. Yes, people will still despise him like people still despise James Charles and the Ace family, but that doesn't matter because they all still have millions of young followers, either not understanding or not caring about the impact of their problematic choices, and are ready to forgive them for every wrongdoing. And I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing, because everyone is able to determine what they believe are problematic actions, and everyone's gonna have different opinions on them. So it's not like if you support James Charles, like you're a terrible person. You might just think that the things he does are not problematic or are not problematic enough for you to care. I'm not saying cancel culture doesn't have any negative effects, but it doesn't really affect big creators' careers. That's probably why many of them purposely get involved in drama, because not only does it not hurt their careers, but it actually helps them by allowing them to stay relevant. Mentally, cancel culture might negatively affect them because of like getting called out and receiving hate. I definitely don't wish like depression or anxiety or worse on anyone, regardless of what they did when they're getting called out online, but their careers are pretty much always able to continue. And so not only are these people not being canceled, but they're also not being held accountable by a large portion of the people who basically provide their income. Sure, some of them will try to hold them accountable, and of course like drama and commentary channels will try to hold them accountable. People on Twitter and in the comment section of YouTube videos will try to hold them accountable, but the large majority of their income is not coming from those people, and so for a lot of them, I don't think they care. Kids don't understand that by watching and supporting these creators, they are basically enabling them to continue to do and get away with their problematic behavior. And so it really sucks, because it's like we basically have to rely on kids to hold them accountable, and it's just never gonna happen, and we shouldn't have to. Like, it's not their fault, you know, they're kids. If these creators had audiences that were older, I don't think we'd be saying the same thing, but at the same time, older people are more likely to view more mature content, so it makes sense why like people who post more immature content are gonna have younger audiences in the first place. Another aspect to it is that, of course, a lot of people don't keep up to like drama and scandals that the creators they follow get themselves into, and that's totally fine. Like personally, I want to know if the people I follow are doing problematic things so I can make a more informed decision on whether or not I want to support them. But the people I follow like never get into scandals, so I don't know. But I totally understand if people come onto social media and they don't want to hear about any of that stuff. That's like, I get it. But the people who don't pay attention to that are probably not going to know about the things that creators are doing unless they make an apology video. As you may know, a lot of influencers love to keep those so vague that you'd never have any clue what they were talking about if you weren't already familiar with the situation. So the fans who have no idea what's going on are just gonna hear their very watered down version of events that make it seem like they did nothing wrong or they just made a little oopsie daisies. And I think that probably plays into it as well. Another thing I want to say about apologies is that the fact that these people do tons of problematic things in the first place, it should be reason enough for no one to expect that they can make a good apology video. If someone just does very small things or like one scandalous thing, I think that's a totally different story. But these people who like every month they're doing something new, it's like they are probably not the most, I don't know, mature, respectable people. You shouldn't really have high or even medium expectations for how well they will apologize for their actions. Like people like Tana Mojo and Jeffree Star are always doing apology videos and people will be like, OMG, this is so inauthentic. And it's like, yeah, duh. Like you expect them to get themselves involved in so many different scandals, but then be like putting out perfect apology videos, growing from the situation, taking complete accountability. Like the people who would actually be good at apology videos are the ones who don't have to apologize for anything or that much stuff to begin with. I feel like people who are into commentary and or drama regarding the internet can kind of get this idea that most people are into ethics and social responsibility, when I just don't think that's true, unfortunately. Like, would all of the main Kardashian Jenners have over 100 million Instagram followers each if that were true? I don't think so. No. Some people just don't care if they support problematic people. Others aren't trying to become more mature or responsible themselves, so why would they care if they're following and therefore supporting people who are not mature or responsible? I also think that people who do more problematic things are more likely to see success in life because they act in self-interest more than many people do. Like people who are attracted to positions of power and status, like being a CEO, being a manager, a politician, a social media influencer. While not everyone who's into those things is like selfish or attracted to positions of power and status, I think those who choose those careers because they want to be in positions of power and status are often going to be the types of people to just do whatever they think they need to get what they want. And then once they like attain those roles, it gives a lot of them a sense of self-importance, entitlement, superiority, and it seems like a lot of them start to feel like the rules don't apply to them, and that's probably one of the reasons we start to see so many people become more problematic as they get many more followers. Their intentions and desires before they got that clout helped them get the clout, and then once they got it, it further impacted their intentions and desires. And so to conclude, I don't think cancel culture or accountability culture are really all that effective for like the highly, repeatedly problematic influencers. I feel like the only way things would like change is if parents started keeping up with social media drama and prohibiting their kids from watching certain channels, which I'm not saying I agree with that, but it's like, I think preferably more parents would try to educate their kids on social issues and how to be ethical, mature, responsible, non-entitled people, and like spotting problematic behavior from other people and like why you shouldn't really support that and how you supporting that enables them more. Unfortunately, I think problematic and unethical people will continue to thrive in our society for a long time, if not forever, and I don't really know if there's a solution to that. Because of that, I personally think it's much more important for people to try to use drama and scandals to educate like viewers on why something isn't okay, how it harms people, and what to do instead. The Ace family apparently does not care about their children's privacy as much as they care about the amount of money they make invading it, so they're probably not going to change what they're doing. But talking about how that is unethical can inform other people who may not have considered that before. All the creators collabing with 90 different people during the pandemic don't care about how that affects the health and safety of the public as much as they care about how collaborations positively impact their social media status, their follower count, and their bank account. But talking about that and how it's problematic can inform other people who might not have been aware of that before, or can at least shed other perspectives so people are more aware of different sides of the same issue. And so in a sense, I think it's really good to respectfully, of course, not maliciously, call people out for their behavior. These people who we're talking about are public figures, therefore they open themselves up to criticism from the public. I, of course, think that should be allowed. I think commentary educates viewers on important topics. They might learn about new issues that they never knew about before, or consider new perspectives on things that they did already know about but just really hadn't thought about the other side. And through that, they can learn and grow, even if the influencers being called out don't.